Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. We've already got the first comment in there. Fred, yes, I'll take that. Yes, we will. We're going to talk about Sunderland's 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace. Let me know in the comments and comment away, ask questions. Let's talk about Sunderland's very impressive 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace. I said in the preview video that I would have happily taken a point from this game, and that is what we've got. So Sunderland pick up their first away point of their season, second clean sheet of the season as well. A pretty impressive 0-0 draw. A lot of the sort of previews that I saw looking into this game, a lot of them all had Crystal Palace winning this one quite comfortably. So it's really, really good to see that we've, come away with a pretty good draw. So the game itself, I thought Sunderland were pretty comfortable in the first half of the game. We weren't really threatening massively ourselves, but I don't think Crystal Palace really threatened all that much. I know they did have one really, really big chance. Pino, I think it was, in the first half where he got in one-on-one and he hit it just to Robin Roofs left as he was coming out. And yeah, that felt like a really big moment in the game. I think a Crystal Palace score then, we're probably looking at a different game of football, but they didn't score. Sunderland's best chance, I'm going to say that with it barely creating anything in the game, really. But our best chance came through Talby, close range effort blocked, no other shots on target in the game. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Sunderland's general attacking play, their creativity or lack thereof, and whether or not we should be concerned by our sort of, I don't want to say stuttering, because it's not fair to say that. We've scored 5 goals this season. We've looked very, very good going forward at home. Just in these away games, it's difficult, and I think we'll see that this season. It's difficult to create chances. Robin Roofs, though, he was the hero of the game. He made some exceptional saves throughout, and I've seen a lot of Crystal Palace fans react saying that, they didn't know Sunderland had such a good goalkeeper and a potential Ballon d'Or winner, such as this performance. And he was incredible in the game. And you need that, I hate when people use that as a stick to bat you with, sort of say, well, we deserve to win the game, but for your goalkeeper. But the goalkeeper plays for Sunderland. He's a Sunderland player. Therefore, if he makes loads of really good saves, that's why we signed him. Like, the goalkeeper's there, he plays for the team just like the centre forward. So yeah, I always find that a bit annoying. Nathan Knight, apart from the final 10 minutes of the game, I don't recall Palace having any chances. And I thought we did really, really well. I think last sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game, as you say, Nathan, we sat in probably a little bit too deep, and Crystal Palace threw the kitchen sink at us. I think we were hoping to maybe hurt them on the counter-attack, and it didn't really come off for us. But anyway, let's talk about the positives from the game. So, just mentioned Robin Roofs. He, to me, looks like a Premier League goalkeeper already. He's taken to Premier League football like a duck to water. I feel confident whenever he's coming for the ball. If that's crosses coming to the box, corners coming to the box, he's just looks like he's able to control that. And I really, really enjoy watching him there. John Dodds, the roof's not leaking. Yeah, it's not leaking, that is for sure. But some of the saves he made in this game were incredible. I don't know exactly who took all the shots, but there was a Mateta one from close range where he didn't necessarily know a lot about it, but he put himself in the perfect position. I think it might have been offside, to be fair. I don't know if it counts on the stat sheet, but that Mateta one was fantastic, where it sort of deflected through Mateta and he fired it and it hit off his shoulder. We had a one from Kamada. I think that was a long range shot. Uche as well. He had one. There was 6 saves in total, and I thought that it really, really, to me, felt like he felt impenetrable in this game, and I thought that it would have to take something special to beat him. There was that double save he made where he saved a really good effort from close range. It came back out and somebody shot it from 20 yards and he tipped it from the top corner. So I thought he was very good, and I thought that we looked really comfortable on set pieces, which is obviously really, really good as well. Sam Doherty, does this performance change your outlook for the upcoming Villa and Forest games? We're going to talk about Villa and Forest sort of towards the end of the live stream, but I think it changes things in the sense that we've obviously picked up a really big away point here. If we'd lost this game, then you go against Villa next week. Felt like there was maybe a little bit of pressure finally sort of grown there that Villa would have to feel like a winnable game. But I think this point takes a little bit of the pressure off on that. I think we can probably get a point against Aston Villa. That's not a bad result. Obviously, you don't want to lose the game. And then going at Forest, they didn't look great today against Arsenal. So it does change it a little bit. We're going to talk about that more at the end of the game. Let's continue on with the positives from the game. I didn't think Crystal Palace hurt us as much as I expected. My thought going into this game was that Palace would probably have a period in the first half where they dominate and potentially score. Obviously, it didn't come off for them. They didn't do that. I don't think they really in the first half, apart from that one chance from Uche where he's put it wide and he probably should have scored. Palace didn't really hurt us all that much. And I thought that was really, really impressive for us. And I feel like our defensive unit, so I'm talking about the goalkeeper, the back four, and even the midfield three together, looks really, really solid. And I think for a newly promoted Premier League team, and I've seen Crystal Palace fans talk about this, our physicality, our running, our defensive duels. You know, I put a thing on Twitter before, which I don't have the the technology to share, but I will sort of read out what the key statistics were from it. And we beat Crystal Palace today in, when it loads, interceptions 10-6, tackles 1, blocks we had 42, clearances 35-25, duels won. We won 63% of the duels, 63% of the ground duels, 63% of the aerial duels, and we had the most successful dribbles. So we dominated Crystal Palace in terms of their physical attributes. Crystal Palace obviously have, it's fair to say, a lot more time playing together, which means that, you know, that they're going to be used to it. They've got like players like Mateta. Mateta's like a 60 to 70 million pound striker. Like, let's be honest, he's one of the best strikers in the Premier League. They've got lots of quality all over the pitch, established Premier League quality. But we showed through our defensive duels and all that good stuff, the physicality that we show, that's what's making the big difference for us right now. And I think Alderete, Mukwele, Ronaldo, and Hume, they all look really comfortable. And it's not just comfortable as individuals, just comfortable as a unit at this level. And I think that's really impressive considering that Alderete, Mukwele, Ronaldo, and Hume are actually only playing their second game together. That was the second game that they've played together, and that they've taken to that, as I said before, like a duck to water. I think that midfield three, Xhaka, Siddiqui, and Diarra. I'm going to talk about Diarra in the negative points, but I think defensively the three of them are rock solid. I think that the three of them are really, really able to control that midfield really well. Also, if you've got questions, guys, put them in the comments and I'll answer them at some point. Also, like, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. I think the final positive is essentially we came for a point and we got a point. The game plan for us today was to go to Crystal Palace, keep a clean sheet, and try and get a goal from a set piece or capitalize on a mistake. That was all we wanted to do from this game. And that's what we did. We got a point. We didn't necessarily have a gilt-edged chance to win the game, and I think that's probably the one shame of it. But fundamentally, it honestly doesn't really matter because these are massive points for us. If you think about what the season has to be for Sunderland this year, we've picked up 6 points at home already. Our total to survive, generally, I know you say 40 points. 40 points would be safe, but I think it's going to be somewhere between 36 and 40 points. Realistically, we need to pick up 10 to 12 points on the road. And then we need to pick up that 25 to 30 points at home this season. That's how Sunderland stay up this season. And games like today, Crystal Palace away, is a really difficult game. Like, it's not a game where you come there as a newly promoted team and expect to pick up something. Obviously, we did drop at Burnley, and I think they learned a lot. I think you could see today there was a bit less sort of naivety in us compared to that Burnley game. The Burnley game, we fell into the trap of how Burnley wanted us to play. Burnley wanted to be the low block team, and they did that. Today, both Sunderland and Crystal Palace want to be low block teams. Like, it didn't make for a great spectacle for the neutral. That's what both these teams want to be. They both want to sit and counter-attack, and we let Burnley do that to us because we went to sort of, right, okay, well, we'll control the game. But that's not our game plan. And I think you saw today that we were a bit smarter about that, and we didn't really leave ourselves open to be counter-attacked. And that's basically how we come away with the point. I know Palace had chances, but you know what? Our goalkeeper's really good and he'll save shots. So that's, again, a massive tick in the box. Right, negatives. Now, I'm a really positive person, but I think we have to talk about some of the things that, you know, I think are pretty obvious when you're watching us. And I think that there is a bit of a disconnect between the midfield and the attack. And what I mean by that is the midfield is really strong defensively. I actually think the attack is very good defensively as well. I think we get a lot of good work from our forward players in that defensive sense. But it feels to me that transition from midfield to attack we aren't able to cut teams open. And even today, there was a couple of chances on the counter attacks. I think Brobby had one where we won the ball in Palace's sort of final third, and then Brobby played a terrible pass and we lost the ball straight away. And we have to be clinical in that area of our game. And that's the one thing that we really need to work on, particularly on the road. At home, we have been clinical, and we've really done well in getting from midfield to attack and hurting teams on the counter attacks. But in the away games so far, we've had them 2 chances at Burnley, which we probably should have scored at least one with my ender. But actually, we're not hurting teams in the transition on the counter attack, and that's really what we want to do. Away from home, we have to be hitting teams on the break with pace and going through the lines quickly, and we haven't done that. We haven't done that today, and I think this leads me to thinking about Diarra, who I'm a big fan of. I mean, this isn't meant to be necessarily a criticism for him, but Diarra to me was brought in to be the connector between that midfield and the attack. He's meant to be the sort of, because Xhaka connects the defense in the midfield. He's the one picking the ball up from the defense and playing it out. I think Siddiqui has more defensive responsibility than Diarra, but I want to see Diarra really like pushing and dribbling and getting the ball through the thirds quickly and playing balls off. And I don't think we've seen that enough. And you know, our XG today, I know some people don't like XG, but you know what? I think it's a good stat. I think it shows you how likely you are to score a goal in the game. And we had an XG of 0.36 today. Palace had one of 1.5, and like 0.36 XG is basically about as low as a Premier League team will get, unless you're absolutely battered from start to finish. But for a game like this, it's about as low as you're going to get. It basically means that we just never look like scoring. Palace did. They had a lot of chances that they didn't score. And that is what it is. Your goalkeeper plays well. You know, you do well. You get some last-ditch defending there. And I thought the whole unit defensively was fantastic. But it felt like, and I talked about this with the Burnley game, it felt like at times we did play a little bit, particularly at times in the second half. We played into that game plan of us having the ball like a little bit too much. And I know people, you obviously want possession of the ball. I'm not saying that you know, you don't want the ball. Yes, you do want the ball. When you have the ball, the opposition can't score. But it felt like we were pedestrian at times in possession, and it's always going to be an issue for us when we dominate the ball a little bit too much. And if we had a weaker goalkeeper, Dave, we obviously don't. But if we had I don't want to say Patterson, because you know what, he got us to the Premier League in the first place. But if you have a weaker level goalkeeper than Roefs, you probably do lose that game. Thankfully, we don't. So you can make of that what you will. Anyone also put in questions? I'm going to answer questions at the end. I know there's a few in there. Lefay's injury kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit because obviously it happened before the game. We just saw he wasn't in the squad. I think that really hurt us today because he's our best creative player by a distance. I thought Lefay being out injured, we saw how good he was against Brentford. And the things that he can do is massive for us. And to lose him, it's a big blow. Hopefully it's not long. Hopefully it's just a short-term thing and he can be back in there for next weekend. But I thought we did miss him a little bit today. Well, actually, I think we missed him a lot in terms of creativity and stuff. I think it would have been massive for us. Dingra, I actually thought played pretty well on the left. There was a spell in that first half, about 10-15 minutes, where he was pretty dominant. And Lefay obviously would have probably been playing on that left. But I think Lefay just gives you so much defensively and just gives you that chance to play that ball through that the other players we have don't. And I think that's the main thing this team lacks is just bits of creativity. And when Lefay isn't playing, that really, really is sort of shown. And I think today we missed him. Our game plan will have been all week working for having Lefay play this game. Obviously, he hasn't been away on international duty. So to lose him was massive. But the fact is, we come over that, we have a game plan that worked. We get a 0-0 draw. We take that all day long, puts us on 7 points. Overall thoughts then, before I answer some questions. You look at the Premier League table right now, we go 7 points ahead of Wolves, 4 ahead of West Ham, who look like they're in trouble. I mean, they got absolutely murdered tonight. These are the two teams, Brentford as well. I don't know what their score is right now, but they are playing right now. Those are the teams that we really, really need to look at this season. I'm just going to look up the Brentford score because I'm curious as to what it is. Or somebody can tell us what the Brentford score is in the chat. That would be helpful. But I think that these are the teams that we have to be looking to catch this season. It's not so much Leeds and it's not so much Burnley. Obviously, we need to finish ahead of them, but I have faith that we can finish ahead of them, certainly from what I've seen this season. You look at Wolves, who've lost 4 on the spin to start the season. It's like their worst start in donkey's years. I think that Wolves are a team we have to target. The fact we're 7 points ahead of them right now, and I know it's early days in the season, but that means they've got like to pick up 7 points to catch up with us. Obviously, that's what it is in the league table, but that's massive at this early stage of the season because they're going to be a team that we're fighting with all season. I also saw Leeds lost late today. The goal was comical. It is worth a watch if you want a quick laugh. Brentford 0-0. Thanks, Nathan. There we are. People are watching me instead of the Brentford game. The game is 0-0. Or Nathan's trolling us, but I don't think he is. Leeds lost late today, though. Stupid goal. And it was like the last minute, 93rd minute. Corner comes in. They don't defend it properly, and it goes into their own net. It's a similar kind of fixture to what we've had today. So Fulham and Palace are both established Premier League teams with strong teams, strong squads. Leeds go there. Similar sort of game, similar sort of XG. They don't create all that much, but a 0-0 draw for them at Fulham would have been massive. For what I've seen of their fans, they were really unhappy with the substitutions and the fact that they, didn't make the correct decisions. Whereas Reggie, you look at, and he largely gets things like that correctly. His game management is really, really good. So seeing Leeds lose that game late today, it just kind of, to me, shows maybe the little bit of the difference between the two and the fact that I think we are maybe a little bit better prepared for these sorts of games. And I know it's a cruel goal, the one that they conceded. And if there's any Leeds fans watching this, that they'll probably sort of look at this and go, well, it was a fluky goal. But you kind of make your own luck, don't you? It's a fluky goal to concede, but they still lose the game in the 93rd minute, whereas we hold on and get a 0-0 draw, and I think that's really interesting. We had a question anyway about the outlook. So there we are, Sam Doherty. Does this performance change your outlook? And look, Villa next weekend is a massive opportunity to get more points on the board. When this fixture list come out, I looked at the first 3 games and thought we had to pick up 6 points, really 4 or 6 points, and we did that. We've then got a bonus point, I would almost say, at Crystal Palace. I know people might look at Crystal Palace away and think, what, a point, that's a one we could target there. But those are the still bonuses because I don't think many people today. I mean, I saw at the start of the game, they had the Opta percentages. We had a 12% chance of winning according to Opta. Make of that what you will, but that's a bonus point we've picked up today. Puts us on 7. Villa, they haven't scored a goal yet this season. They, as far as I can tell, it's stale for them, and they're really, really struggling to get goal this season. They also are a team that dominates possession. They are going to come. I mean, when they played Brentford earlier this season, they had like 77% possession in the game. Brentford won the game 1-0. They will come to the stadium and probably do the same thing. They will think, right, we're going to have 65 to 70% of the ball, and we're going to sit in and frustrate them in a low block. That's probably how the game's going to go, similar to like when we played Middlesbrough last season at home. So just let them have the ball. I think that this is a really, really interesting game for us because I think our squad's actually built for this sort of game. It's built for a team to come to the stadium and park themselves in our half, and we just wait for the moments to pick them off. We just wait to pick them off, wait to pick them off, and then eventually we pick them off. And that has got to be the hope going at this game. So look, I don't think it's not a must-win game, like not by any stretch of the imagination. Villa's had a bad start, but they did pick up a draw against Everton today, and Everton's had a decent start. So they're not going to be an easy team to beat, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that the way that they are right now, the way that the Stadium of Light at the moment feels in terms of just feels like it's really hard for teams to go there and then they're not going to enjoy it. I think we've got a really good chance against Aston Villa next weekend. I don't think we have to win the game. I think a draw is a pretty good result. But yeah, I think that the Villa and the Forest games, draws would be pretty good. And I think I looked at this and thought, could we get a point from either Palace or Forest away? And could we get a point from Villa at home? We've done half the job. We've got the point against Palace. We go against Villa next week. If we can get a point there, then it means that the Forest game's essentially a free hit. But they've got no reasons to be, I say, worried. Villa are a top team. They played in the Champions League quarterfinals last season. They're going to be in the top 7 or 8 this season. So yes, it's always going to be hard playing against teams like Aston Villa. But I don't think we've got anything to fear. Then you look ahead to the Forest game. You can't really call that because of Ange Postecoglou and the change that's there. But Ange at Tottenham last season, and maybe he's learned his lesson, but he would set up against the newly promoted teams. I mean, he lost against the newly promoted teams at home. I think Leicester beat them. I think Ipswich beat them. I don't know what they did against Southampton, but definitely Leicester and Ipswich beat them last season because he plays that mad high line. He wants to press in and be on the front foot. Again, it's a team that we're built to play against, and we should be able to hit them on counter-attacks because at home, I would suspect Ange would look at that and say we should be dominating that game. So I think we win games essentially with the blueprint of today, which is being defensively pretty solid, maybe having to rely on our goalkeeper to provide moments of magic. But you know what? He's a good goalkeeper. So it doesn't make a difference. You know, he plays for us. He's a good goalkeeper. We win our games by being defensively strong and then picking our moments. It's an unbelievable point today in the grand scheme of things. I saw predictions today. I watched the Conor McGilligan YouTube channel. I don't know if people watch that, but check it out. It's really good. And the two on that one, I think it's him and Callum Fowler, they both were like, it should be a comfortable Palace win 2-0. A lot of people, the consensus is it should be a comfortable win. I think people don't necessarily look under the surface with Sunderland. I think that we are getting a little bit disrespected at times because we're a newly promoted team. They look at a playoff winner. I saw Jamie Carragher just the other day talking about Sunderland just getting relegated. And it's just always the same thing. Oh, well, they're newly promoted. They won the playoffs. It's going to be too much for them. I think a lot of teams are underestimating us. And I think I've seen from Palace fans today that a lot of them are going, do you know what? This team's pretty good. This isn't the usual newly promoted team. And do you know what? It's not the usual newly promoted team because we've changed pretty much the whole squad. Right, Nathan Knight. I think our lack of creating chances need to be given credit to Palace's defence as they are very strong at the back. Thought Dingra looked very bright. Yeah, you're probably right there, to be fair. Palace have got a really strong defensive line, and they looked steady all game. I think that the only thing I'd say is that the Burnley game, we didn't create all that much. Certainly in open play, we had that Talby chance was the only open play chance that we had that I can remember. So I think that is the concern. But on the road, we are going to rely on moments. We want to win away games 1-0, don't we? We don't want to get involved in ding-dong sort of end-to-end games of football away from home. That doesn't suit us. It's just not in our interest to do that. What's in our interest is going to places like Crystal Palace and from their perspective, stinking the joint out, making it a really bad game. And not in terms of like quality. Obviously today we've got a quality team and it's just a bad game in the sense of we aren't going to give them a chance to create. And the fans will have left that game, I imagine, from the Crystal Palace end and thought, oh, what a drab afternoon. But we need to do that. We need to go away from home and be horrible to play against. And I think we were that today. So, yes, the creating chances is a concern. 0.36 XG, yes, it's a concern. But we will find ways of scoring goals on the road. I've got no doubt about that. Etienne, I was worried for Mateta, depressed at the end of the game, puffing a bit overweight. He's not going to overtake Thuram in the France national team. Do you know what? Probably not. Probably not at the end. I was concerned though going in the game for him. I think he's a good player, isn't he? You know, he didn't have his best day today, but he's a good player. Alan Gardner, we look comfortable at the back in general. Do you think having a forward like Robbie will give us more of a chance of creating better opportunities in front of the goal? I think from what I've seen about Robbie is that he's not afraid to take shots. And that's something that we can really benefit from, having somebody who's sort of shot-faced. I think sometimes we are maybe trying to find the perfect shooting space. I think Robbie will give us that. He also creates chances himself. He's a bit of a handful. Look, I didn't think he had a great 15, 20 minutes, whatever he had today. I didn't think he looked... I don't know, just didn't look ready. I wonder if my ender might have been the better fit to come on. I wasn't that impressed with him, but it's literally 20 minutes, his Premier League debut, away from home in a difficult place to play. We were defending for our lives. So, you know, it's hard to judge him off today's performance. But, yes, I mean, we brought in Robbie probably for this reason, because we think that he can score goals sort of out of nothing. He can create his own chances. And I think Isidore can do that in an extent. I think Mayenda can do that to an extent. I think all three have the ability to sort of score goals. I think Robbie might get more involved in the game just because of his physicality. He might, you know, be used more as a hold-up man, which gets him more involved in the game. I think Mayenda and Isidore, when they're up there, they can be sometimes a little bit isolated, it's fair to say. And I think Robbie it's less likely that that'll happen. And I suspect away from home in particular, Robbie might be used as an option just to get us up the pitch and be able to hold it up there. I believe that's why he's been brought in. Daniel Cairns, we can't forget Palace are 11 unbeaten and beat some great teams in that stretch. Yes, that is very, very true. And Palace have won the FA Cup and the Community Shield in that space as well. They're a very, very good team. They did have players out. I mean, Saar and Wharton are two massive players for them. And who knows, if they're both playing, maybe the game changes and, you know, maybe they come away with a win, but they weren't playing. I can also see that Brentford are winning 1-0. So there we go. Bit of a shame for our relegation chances. Jason Abbott, my good friend. Hello, mate. Great live. Agree 100% we missed Lefebvre, but the result was great. Do you think it's time to bring Hume and Talby out to freshen up the right-hand side? Hume, I would say no. I think I've been pretty all right with Hume. I think that Hume's a solid player, and I think he's the sort of player that is transferable at the Premier League. So to take him out, I think you might be hurting his sort of development. And look, when you're in the Premier League, you can't be relying on development players, and you have to think more about the here and now. But I don't think Hume's done anything wrong. Talby, I think, does a lot of defensive work that maybe goes a little bit unnoticed. I do think it's a bit of a creative vacuum, him being out on the right side. Don't think he ever looks like making chances for players. And I would maybe consider it. I think today, if I'm being honest, my predicted team was a Dingra on the right and then Lefebvre on the left. And I do wonder if Lefebvre was fit, if that's what he would have done. But then he brought off a Dingra and left Talby on. So I thought that was quite interesting. But I see what you mean about freshening up that right-hand side to an extent. I think if we had potentially like more midweek games, when you're in the Championship, you play loads of midweek games. In the Premier League, it just doesn't happen. I think we might have seen that happen potentially more. But yeah, I don't think I would take Hume out. And I think Hume is a bit of he's a colossal for us in that team, and he's a bit of a heartbeat. I think the only reason that to drop him would be A, if he needed a rest, which I don't think he does, or B, if he was injured, obviously. Or, he went through a bit of cataclysmic form, but he's not at that point yet. He maybe hasn't played his best today or at Burnley away, but he'll find his feet. So I would leave Hume in there. Talby, I get it. And I think the decision to let Roberts go out on loan, I know we've got Traore there. Maybe that'll change my thought process on this, but I would have kept Patrick Roberts just to help on that. Today, we could have done with Patrick Roberts, in my opinion, coming on. That's by the by. Jason again, 4 points from Villa and Forest, and I generally believe we could stay up. That'll be the litmus test for me. I don't know. I mean, 4 points from the next two would be pretty special, to be fair. I think getting the point today, that's a bit of a win on the old litmus test. Going back to 10 chemistry. Yeah, that's been to me a big one, because I thought today it was our hardest test of the season. We go to Palace, we get a 0-0 draw, and we do a pretty solid job there. We do a job on them. So, yeah, 4 points from Villa and Forest would be massive. I think even if we got 3 points from them 2 games, I'd be pretty confident. I mean, what with 3 points would put us on 10 from 6 games. And I think what's the stat? Is it like 11 points from your first 8 games or something? You always stay up. I'm sure I've seen that stat get bandied about somewhere. Aldwa 33. Seen a lot of YouTubers predicting 3-0 and never seen it. I knew it would be a lot closer to them. Yeah, I don't know why people would predict something to get beat 3-0. I mean, look at Reggie since we've been manager. I think we lost at Coventry 3-0. I think that's like the worst defeat we've had. We've never ever been like out of games at 3-0. So I don't know why. I mean, it's this lazy narrative. I am going to do a video on lazy narratives, because there's a lot of lazy narratives around the newly promoted teams generally. The 3 getting put together of us burning Leeds, there's just a lot of laziness. And you see that in the predictions. And people look at, Sunderland have started really well, but they'll get murdered at Palace. It's like, but that's not what Sunderland... I mean, Sunderland might take a few Tonkins this season. They might go to Arsenal and lose 5-0 like what Leeds did. But in games like this, I think Sunderland will largely stay in them. We're not going to obviously win a lot of them, but we go to Palace away, you go to Fulham away, you go to Brentford away, and West Ham away, and all them sorts of teams. There's no reason why we should be losing them games 3-0, because we're so defensively sort of strong. So, yeah, I'd agree with that. Nathan Knight, I would think Isidore is a better impact sub personally coming on last 20 minutes. You're probably right there. But I think you'd earned the right to get a start, and you have to reward your substitutes with minutes if they are doing well for you, because that can lead to issues. If Isidore was just continually used off the bench all season and was scoring goals off the bench and wasn't getting starts, like he would have a right to whinge about that. So I can see why they put him in there today. I had him in my starting 11 today. So yeah, Daniel Keynes, I thought my ender could have came in on the right for Talby. Yeah, I was saying that when I was watching it. I thought that made sense. I remember reading when we signed Talby that we first play on the left-hand side and cutting in, so might be worth trying him there. yeah, I think everything, it's all on the table for us this season. So yeah, I could see that. Could just put our last sign in there. Don't think Roberts would do it in this league. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but I think, you know, today I thought Roberts would have done us a job coming on the right. I mean, I really like Patrick Roberts. I know some people aren't massively keen on him. Like, I don't think people are huge on Patrick Roberts. I think I see a lot of people who think that he's wasteful, but today, in games like that today, he's got the ability to dribble past men and get you up the pitch. And that's what I liked about Patrick Roberts. I personally would have kept him. And I think, not saying we'll live to regret it. It's not going to be the difference of, you know, staying up and going down at the end of the season. But in games like today, I think he could be useful to bring on. I thought when he played against Burnley, I thought he looked like our best attacking threat when he came on. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my Patrick Roberts rant. Maybe I just love him too much. John Dodds, there's two types of creativity on the pitch, individual creativity and team creativity. This is a team that's infancy and we're highly dependent on the individuals, but given time, we will evolve. That's a really nice way of putting it, John. I like that. Yeah, team creativity. And that'll come with, yeah, the chemistry. At the end of the day, we're 4 games into this team, and some of these players didn't come in until after the start of the season, you know. So, I mean, look at what like, Darren Ballard and Jensen Seelt were our starting centre-backs against West Ham. So, you know, that's completely changed now. Xhaka looked tired after 70 minutes. I thought Xhaka had a really good game today. I thought that the stuff he does off the ball, he's defensive marshalling, and the way he orders the team around is too important. I think that Xhaka, even if he does look tired, look, he's played international football, I think that the manager would be reluctant to ever take him off, because if you watch him, he organizes things on the pitch. And I don't know if we have another player that can do that, that can sit there and point out, right, we need to do X, Y, Z, you need to go here, you need to go here. You see it all the time. Every time I watch the game, particularly if I'm in the stadium, you watch the games, he's dictating where everyone goes. And in games like that today, where you need that defensive organization, I just don't think you can take him off, even if he does look tired. There we are, Nathan Knight, pointing out the stat, 11 points from 10. So the stat, we've got 7 games to get 4 points. Bosh. Jason Abbott, again, I think Roberts deserved a chance at the level and wouldn't have been upset if he'd have stayed. You're right, taking Hume out would be harsh, granted. It's not often I'm right, Jason, but we'll take that one. Got another one from you here. I thought Xhaka was fine, even after 70, dictated play, and off the ball was great. Yes. Looked knackered after 70 minutes of the team generally. I don't know if we look... I think that we kind of... we got sucked into the game style where Palace were throwing the kitchen sink and we were getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I don't really like that. Certainly as somebody watching the game, it gives me heart palpitations, but I get it. Palace have got more quality than us. If we'd sort of try to match them for that, you would think their quality would probably tell. So I think we had to sort of sit in there. Alan Gardner, I agree. At the end, there's no team in the world who can score 3 past Roefs. Excellent. Let's hope we can get enough points before our whole midfield sorts off to AFCON. Well, Xhaka doesn't go to AFCON, to be fair. Be Xhaka and Lefay and Neil and Rig. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe, like the stream as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It's good. I think it's been like largely like 70 odd people watching, which is really, really good. And we'll catch you for another video. Also, before I go, we've got Tom White on next week. We'll put a post out looking for questions and whatnot. So Sky Sports is Tom White coming on, which will be really, really good. So we're recording that on Tuesday, so that'll go out Tuesday night. And we'll have other videos coming out as well. But I'm going to try and do one like good interview every week. We had All Ending on. We've had Nick Barnes on. We've had Graham Falk on. We're going to try and do that. I think that's a good way of keeping the channel up to date, speak to different people every single week. So thanks everyone for watching. We will catch you soon for another video. I'll probably do one tomorrow, giving some more reflections on this 0-0 draw. And we'll see you all then. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. We'll see you soon.